Hey, storyteller, storytelling Ron. I'm just going to read through this article with you, and this I did a previous video on this, but this is why the church is failing. Why are our youth leaving the church? Obviously, my take on it is this. And there was another video I saw, like a pastor talking about this, is that the youth that role play church have a higher chance of staying, and role playing being just more interactive in church, more understanding what church is about, because do we even explain what a church is and why? Go to church, learn, be able to learn about the Lord. But the church is more than just go to church or service thing. It's it's about we as men with our wives are giving up our individual arrogance and pride and saying, I'm committing to the body of Christ. And Jesus left us the church. So we need to explain that to kids. And obviously when you start explaining to kids, they get, meh, right? Just like I do. But give them a game. They start to, where they play church in the game instead of in real life. Because when you play it in the game, you get you rewire your brain. You masturbate to porn, you rewire your brain to be a lustful gang raper, horrific Islam. I'm going to go off a tangent. I remember hearing veterans, and Matt Wolf even posted, Matt Wolf, the Daily Wire guy. He's not Matt Wolf, something. Anyway, where this veteran was from Afghanistan. He said he never seen so much porn in his life, but in the dirty huts of those Islamic Muslims, they're inbred, they're incestual, their women are chattel, their women and daughters are chattel. The rape and the sodomy of their boys is a commonplace thing in Islam and in Afghanistan, and the women are assigned marriage, the young girls, and that's just horrifying. What was my point in there? Horrifying and terrible. So their brain is wired to be so lustful and pathetic. If you get someone involved in this game, let's get back to the game. If you get kids involved in this game, then it rewires their brain to think of church in a real way. Preaching, prayer, evangelism, church planning, supporting churches. All these games, that's what it's about. This is church history. This is medieval history. This is where fantasy comes from. True fantasy comes from Christians studying and writing. The Brothers Grimm and Aesop fables. Those were done by Christians who looked at the stories around them in the land and just kind of did an academic research on them and then put them in a book. And thusly, we Christians homogenized or made fantasy into we family friendlied it, fantasy or paganism, which is where fantasy comes from. But we Christians turned it into a much more palatable entertainment form of entertainment, including Greek mythology. Granted, there was still some of the perversity that came through, but the whole brutality and torture and slavery and gladiator brutality that was commonplace in paganism and is returning, as we can see. And we Christians returned into fantasy stories. Anyway, so the true essence of what we desire in fantasy is Christianity, because of the way we look at it today. We take out the on the left, the paganism. They've taken out all the stuff to make it into this sort of digestible, fun entertainment. But paganism is not digestible. I mean, you have to be just dark and evil with it. The true paganism, where fantasy came from. So we Christians created fantasy, but the pagans have used fantasy now to beguile us into dissipation, waste of time, and get away from the Lord, and get our dopamine from them and not from church planning, which is very exciting to me. Now that I play this game and I GM in this game and my players, like, it's all exciting to do church stuff, to go to church. We just had an open mic last night. I went up and did a comedy routine, made a fool of myself, played my ukulele in a silly way. People kind of smirked and laughed a little bit. I got a little bit of laugh, I don't know, but mostly whatever. No, but and I'm not even ashamed or anything. I got to do it to support the church. I got to do it to support the open mic, because we're trying to use the open mic to bring in people from Hollywood, young art professionals and stuff. So everything I'm doing at the church, I don't care about being embarrassed. I don't care about a stress or a burden or anxiety. None of that matters to me, because my dopamine is in church, is supporting church, and however I can. And I just enjoy it. We go out and walk the streets of Hollywood, and get ignored and rejected 99.9% of the time. I would say 100%. Now, in the sense of we've been doing the evangelism on Hollywood and then on the porch at our church. And they have been doing it for 6 years. The pastor's been there for 6 years. But we've been doing that, and I've been doing that the last year. And we've gotten this many converts. This many coming to church, even coming to church. I don't know anyone coming up to me. I don't recall anyone coming up to me saying, "Oh, I took your track. I saw you on Hollywood Boulevard or on the porch, and I came." I don't think anyone has become at least become a member. I think maybe some of them might have come in, but I just don't. There's no one in there that I can recall that we've talked to or met that has actually come. And we've repeatedly there's some repeat people that we've said to come and week after week and still haven't come. But I'm still encouraged. I still pray with some of the people, especially the people that sell the bus tours. We see them regularly, and then some of the merchants that run the stores, we see them and we just go pray for them and we talk to them a little bit, see how they're doing. So yeah, it's a neat thing. Dopamine. There's my dopamine. I don't need D&D anymore. I don't need it. I don't need Star Wars. I do like Star Wars because I'm trying to finish my Christians in Space game here today. But no, these games are done. They're on Amazon. But only the Apostles of the Epoch is a D6 version, which is a much easier, quicker one to jump into. The other ones, and all three of them, are a D20 system on Amazon as hard books. But the system is a little harder for people to grasp the dice mechanics that I used. The dice mechanics I created for the D20 was to solve the issue of a 10th level cap or getting too powerful. So it has this sort of bell curve, thing that goes on there with averages that no one could really get except me, and I loved it. But so I switched to D6, and D6 works out fine. The more D6s you have, if you have a prowess of 3 and an axe of 3, you get 6 dice, six-sided dice. You roll it, and a 6 is a success. And as you add more dice, it's fine. More fumbles can happen and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, but it's good. I like it. All right, let's go with this. Now that we're 7 minutes in, I'm getting to the actual. Okay, religious affiliation and participation in the United States have declined steadily over the past several decades. Fewer Americans now attend worship services. I want to say this, directly about this. One of the biggest reasons that we're ignoring is how the Democrats have, and I'm anti-Democrat, but they must exist. Evil must go somewhere. So Democrats, but we must openly rebuke them. They have created all these laws that limit the church, because at my church, we cannot feed the poor. No church can feed the poor. We can't house the poor. We have to have all these regulations through state. So much for separation of church and state. The church cannot do all these things. There's a big food pantry near us at the Catholic Church, and I'm like, oh man, the Catholics can do it. Turns out that an NGO runs that food pantry, not the church, the Catholic Church. So they can't even proselytize, or evangelize. And we can't. So when we get lots of homeless and weirdos, because we're in Hollywood, come to our church, and we have to deal with them individually, figure out who they are. But we can't offer them anything. If we offer them something, we're liable now, because of state rules and regulations and laws. So that's, to me, is sort of starting to become this realization that the main reason the church is in decline is that we're being limited in what we can do. Everything we do, like try to open up our church to bring in people, we're concerned about what liability, what rules the state has imposed upon us, and they're constantly tightening that screw. The Democrats are infatuated with limiting the church and getting it progressive and supporting the progressives and the gays to take over the church, and the Muslims. They support the Muslims because they have to. They have to. They're written in their hearts that way. God made them that way. Okay, let's move on to. Let's do more of a bullet point thing here. Religious practice in childhood is highly predictive of religious practice in adulthood. So what if in childhood they get to play a game about being a Christian, about making churches, preaching, evangelizing in a game where they get to roll dice and fight mutant bugs and fly spaceships and have space battles and then go to planets and they're missionaries, okay? This is a Christian role-playing game. Christian role-playing game is so easy. Like everyone, I get a lot of Christian men who look at me like, oh, how do you do that? And I get it because I had to break the glass ceiling myself thinking about it. But I'm like, wait a minute, we've been doing this forever. We have been adventurous for medieval history since Christianity, since Christ. We have gone out and confronted evil and wickedness in the cults and the witches and the vampires and the werewolves. They had them back in the day. People that were crazy like that and bloodthirsty and cannibals. We confronted all of them and ended it, or at least brought out the church and continually confront it to this day. We're the only ones who want to save babies. We're the only ones who want to judge Islam in the rapes, the gang rapes that are happening. Christians, and less than 5% are Christian in Europe right now that go to church regularly. And Rupert, the English minister or whatever that has brought out that gang rape inquiry report, he's a Christian. No, the left is not going to do it. The Democrats and the left are going to allow this Islam and the rape of children and the girls. They're going to allow it because they have. It's proven fact that they have allowed it. And the Christians are like, wait a minute, and we're putting out this report. We're fighting against it. Doge is a Christian thing because we're fighting against fraud. I know Elon Musk is not Christian, but he's obviously going towards it. I could tell, or hopefully praying he will eventually. But he's, but through Trump and through the right, the Republicans, we are exposing the fraud. And that guy, Nick, the one that's been exposing all the fraud. He's a Mormon, I think, but I think he has Christian. A lot of Mormons think they're Christian. Hopefully, we can change them and bring them to real Christianity. But they at least get the Christian fundamentals before they get to the murder stuff. But I mean, reading the Bible is tough enough. Then you have another big old book of wackiness. Okay, high parent-child relationship quality in childhood is associated with stronger retention of religious belief and practice in adulthood. So being involved with your kid is I was very involved with my daughters. I homeschooled them, so they're now very Christian, or in their young adult life, they're involved with Christianity, but they've got a lot of the young adult things they're doing, so they're busy. But they know church is important. Both of them do, and they see what I'm doing. Okay. Nonetheless, I did not have them play this game because I had not yet made it. But this game really helps kids roleplay Christianity in a strong, rebuking, combat, violent way, but also really, really trying things. They can really try different arguments, and they're excited to in the game because, let me give you an example that I got the kids at school now, or church. They found the post-apocalyptic one. They found a bunker with giant lizards on top, and then there were survivors inside the bunker hiding, and they were worshiping the giant lizards. And so they had to tell them, we have to worship the giant lizards. They're just lizards. And like, no, they're our gods. They protect us. But they actually keep them in there like they're scared and they're going to eat them or whatever. But whatever. There's more to it than that. But I'm just trying to go quickly. But so they had to persuade them, and they had to fight the lizards, and then prove to them. And they're like, oh, what's your god? What god do you worship? Maybe They had to explain to them Jesus, and then and it's silly, but it's light, but it's fun. And then they said, "Well, what is a church? What are you talking about?" And so they had to explain what a church was, and they got all excited about that. Imagine just having let's have a church class, kids, at church. Okay, what is Christianity? What is a church to you? They're gonna get all antsy and, but when they're playing this game, they're like, and I'm throwing rules out at them sequentially so they can expand on the rules as they go, and they're all interested in every time I bring up a new rule. They're like, "What? How do you word that? How do I do this? It's a very simple system, though. I have one role playing concept in there, like what is a church? The survivor's gonna ask them, and then one there's some zombies in the back of the bunker they got to clear out. That takes up the whole time, the whole hour and a half, 2 hours that we're there. And then we discuss maybe a new rule. That's it. And it goes really fast. And we roll some dice, and I get them to always do a role-playing thing and a fighting thing. Like the last time they went back to their original Christian bunker and talked to the original their own people to get support for the new church that they planted at that bunker. And so they had to talk with all the the chaplain and whoever else to persuade them to give them stuff, and then pray with them and stuff like that. So it was really, they're learning to, we got to plan a church, then we got to get support for the church, and then we got to work on this, and then help confront any kind of bad or evil in the area that they need help with, and just rinse and repeat. And it's a great little game, and they want to keep playing it. So Congressional involvement on part of both parents in adolescence is linked to higher levels. Congressional involvement on the part of both parents and adolescents is linked to higher levels of faith when children reach adulthood. So congressional involvement is at church, doing things at church. So imagine playing this game at church, and then involving others, and then building out there, having a game night or game group. Awesome. Recommendations for parents: be your children's role model for faith. So go to church. Don't play D&D. Play this with them. Be a role model for your children, including your adult children. Play a Christian game. Show them that our faith is awesome and we can do this and have dopamine in that. I don't question your Christianity. I question your effectiveness when you're playing D&D. I don't question your faith, but I don't question your faith. I question, are you doing enough for the Lord? Do you love the Lord so much with your whole heart and mind that you want to spend time with Him? Why do you want to spend so much time with D&D and Star Wars and stuff? Like, I get watching a movie, playing chess. You don't need evangelism in chess. Doing fun, silly things. But when you're role playing and you're really interactive and you're discussing and you're, that's a big opportunity right there, a joyful opportunity to do something for your kids, for your adult kids who have fallen away from the faith. I would suggest though that you play this game with believers first, or kids that are in the church or fellowshipping, and get good at it, and get a rhythm going, and then bring in non-believers but for the purpose of evangelizing them. Prioritize strong marriages and parent-child relationships. I do not have a marriage rule set in the game. Obviously marriage is essential, but I don't have it in the game, so because I don't have romance rules. I don't know. I think it's just focused on that. Imagine like a widow situation, because someone's gonna die, kind of thing. But oh, now that I'm dead, honey, are you gonna remarry my new character? Are you gonna remarry this one? Huh? This is a new character. I don't know. I can't help you there. Parent-child relationships, man. Playing a game like this is gonna amazingly involve interaction between you and the children, and Christianity. Now, obviously, as the parent, you're gonna be playing the pagans, but nonetheless, you can always stop and talk about things, and have a little post-game talk about it, and then see what the children think about the faith and about real world things. And when you bring in real world things in here, you kind of simplify it. You keep it simple, goofy. I use slavery a lot and bullying a lot as the main thing, because I'm not going to use the other things that pagans do normally, like human sacrifice, gladiator entertainment sacrifice, blood, all the killing, the rape, that's common, the chattel of women, that's common. There's no rules in paganism, so even in Islam, the rules are horrifying. They literally have them in the Quran. You can do these things. Why do we allow Islam in our country? Why is it even legal? It's a horrifying religion. Make faith formation a joint effort. This game will do it. So the last game, I told one of the girls who comes every now and then, because her parents do sports and stuff, but they're still great. But she comes and I explained to her the game. I said, the reason I'm doing this game, and she got it. She's like, oh, okay, I get it. I was telling her, it's like my fake way of tricking you guys into believing in understanding Christianity and how it works. I literally said that, because the truth is the truth. But that was certainly not my intent originally as an adult. I did it because I just, well, where did we all come from? We came from church history, all of us, the West, and that's in the medieval times and the Dark Ages. The church spread out and ended the gladiators. Do we do gladiators anymore? Do you and I gamble on people killing each other in an arena? Because that was common. That was everywhere before Christianity. Slavery was everywhere when Christianity was forming and when the churches were starting to, do we have that now? I mean, we have it in Islam and plenty of places. In Marxist communism, there's slavery. But in Christianity, we don't believe in that, unless you're a Democrat and you want a bunch of illegals coming here. Sure. Build religion into everyday family life. Hello! Play this game. Get your kids involved. Keep it simple. Keep the game simple. Just roll 6-sided dice. 6s or successes. You know, you can go with that. Damage is the same as D&D weapons. There's an armor save to reduce the damage. But if the more successes you have, you can add a D6 to the damage. Three successes is a critical, which you don't need double damage. You just add more distance to D6s. But learn the rules about conditions. So if they're in a condition of wounded, you know, it's scarier. Blah blah blah. Anyway, or you can double damage, whatever. However you want to keep it simple for the kids to roll 6-sided dice. It's so easy that they see their trait plus their skill. Oh, what's funny is one of the girls, she rewrote her character sheet while we're playing because I wrote it and it was really messy. And I would do like she had preach, spirit 3, and then skill 3, right? So she had 6 dice for her preach, and she wrote preach, spirit plus skill 3, like that. And I'm like, oh, you got to put your spirit of 3 in there. She goes, no, because I might change the spirit, so I don't want to keep changing it for all these skills. And I'm like, oh, that's a really good, that's really smart. I didn't think, and I said, I'm going to use that. That was really, 45, 50, almost 57-year veteran GM, and she thought of that right there while we're playing, while she's quickly, because her character sheet was such a mess because the way and she said, no, I'm going to just do spirit plus skill 3 because her spirit she might raise her spirit up again. She don't want to have to change it for those. She's like 8 or 9 or 10, 9. I was like, dang, just didn't think about that. Wow. I'm just thinking about that makes me crack up, man. That's awesome. Build religion into everyday family life, man. Make faith a regular topic of family conversation. If they have this game, playing a role-playing game, they're going to be asking you questions when you're not playing. The kid, when I come to church in the morning and early to be a greeter, they're there because they're their pastor's kids. They run up to me, one of them runs up to me, hey, what about that? And I'm like, oh, when are we playing again? Oh, we do it every other week right now. And then, of course, whenever postpone it for whatever reason. No, but I'll do it twice next time. Okay, or 2 in a row, Oh, man, we got to get on this. It's so much fun. This is so much fun. I enjoy this. And it's faith, and it's Christianity, and it's joyful to the Lord, and you get to fight bugs and mutants and, orc-like creatures if you want. In the post-APOC, by the way, all the it's Gonzo. The mutations of anything can be put in the wastelands of 2300 AD. You could put orcs if you want. You could put mutant things and ugly creatures, and I'm totally doing that with mine. So it's total Gamma World. It's total, what's that one? Goodman Games one. The other one. The Goodman Game one. The Mutant Chronicles. No, not. I talked to Boria. Where is it? Where is it? I know I have it. Goodman Game. Oh, here it is. Mutant MCC. Mutant Classic something. Anyway, and the MCC. I have that book. I have the Hyperborea. Because of the dopamine of those, like, ooh. But I'm telling you, when I open them up and look at them, ooh, I just kind of I get bored. I get like, what's the point? This is the point, or Jesus is the point. Planning churches. And what is Acts to Revelations? Church. It's not individuals. At our church now, this is the 3rd or 4th time I've done this, and I've only been there less than a year. So as a deacon, less than that. So, and I've said this to all of them, and I'm just boom, I'm gonna say it. But I've had like homeless, nomadic young men come through our church and just come up, and and we're talking to them and being nice and polite. Things are happening where we're doing this, we're doing that. They're at the porch, or we're doing the Bible study in a few minutes or whatever. And I'm like, so what do you do? Where do you live? Are you around here? Because do you live here? Because come to our church. And no, I'm just passing through. Because I'm like, passing through. What do you mean? So I find out there's 3 or 4 of them now, young men passing through Hollywood on their shenanigans or whatever, but always like, God has told me to do this. God has told me to do that. I'm going to go here and do stuff for the Lord. I'm like, well, that's not. No, I would say, I literally, no, I think you should not listen to the voices in your head. I think you should read the Bible, because the Bible tells you to join a church. Don't be, roaming around like a rambling man. I don't say that, but I'm gentle in the way I say it, but I'm firm. You don't need to listen to the voices in your head because they some of them kind of have this neurosis thing going on. You need to plant your roots, join a church, build up that church. Plant your roots. Stay somewhere. Get solid. I remember saying it to one guy who was like babbling on and on about weird stuff because he started to get weirder and weirder. This is black guy. I get plenty of whites. There's a white guy, an Asian guy, but this black guy. But he was getting, at first he was really polite, but he started getting weirder and weirder about it. And I'm telling him, look, he was whining. He kept complaining more and more and more. And I said, look, plant your roots. Get a church. Here's one right here. If you want to, but you got to get a job, get a place, work on yourself. Don't. He's saying that God is the only do this. God is going to do that. No. He started getting weird and weirder, and I knew that and he started to argue with me, and I'm like, and I had the other guy there on the porch, and I said, I knew I couldn't argue with this guy, like it was getting ridiculous, and that's something you learn in wisdom. And I said, can I pray? You know what? Can I just pray for you? Can I pray for you? And he's all, yes, yeah. And I prayed for him. I prayed for his God giving him wisdom, God giving him, bless him, God, the things that I want for any Christian. Anyone that wants to follow God. And he got calm. He got kind of emotional. But he kept him, and he said thank you, and then he left, and he walked off it. And I'm like, okay, there's no more to do. There's no more. He's got to. Okay, recommended for pastors. Guide parents, not just children, as part of religion. And it was fun. I enjoy it. That's an adventure right there. That was role playing, hardcore adventure. Because I'm dealing with someone who's getting very agitated, and we got to deal with it. And that was like a combat session. You know what I mean? In that sense, not. You know what I'm saying? But because of this game, what happened there to me, in the moment, was the dopamine was kicking in. Not that I was excited, but that I was doing something, and I was not frustrated. I was not fearful. I was not anxiety ridden. I was just like role playing a game. I felt like I have done this before, kind of a thing. Guide parents, not just children, as part of religious education office for the pastors. Yeah. Support strong marriages and co-parenting relationships. Actively engage fathers. Create space for community. This is one. Pastors, invest in youth ministry. That right there. These two. Boom. This game right here, pastors, will help you get some youth guys, some young guys in ministry to learn this game and become game ministers. They're called game ministers. Game ministers. Not gay ministers. Game ministers. And because gay is sin. And but get them to start this game and get some kids in there and then teach them, and just this, because remember, D&D has a huge network of youth groups. Fellowship. They are using Dungeons and Dragons. The secularists, the homosexuals are using Dungeons and Dragons to lure kids, including Christian kids, away from church. The schools have after school programs for this, and even Christians are using it. I mean, Christians are using D&D unwittingly. They're allying with Satan. I'm being harsh here, but it's true. Get rid of D&D. It just teaches your kids to be pagan. Get a game that teaches them to evangelize and plant churches. And by the way, the Crystal Space and Dark Ages are D20. They're not D6, but you can actually use. I bet you I could do my Crystal Space right now with the D6 system and just use the numbers because it's the same numbers. Like if you have a awareness of 2 and a laser gun of 2, in the Crystal Space, that's the 4 ranks, and then you do the D20 stuff. But in the D6, you just turn it into D6s, so it still works. Still the same damage and stuff. Anyway, I'm getting to it. I'm working on it. Okay. Worship attendance in childhood and adulthood. Religious attendance at age 12. Never. Okay, so weekly or more, 59%. Religious attendance now. What age is this? Oh, adulthood. They go down to 28. So from 59% to 28. 1 to 3 times per month, 19. Well, that's still pretty good. So yeah, you can see the drop here. Look at that, 41%. Never. Well, never is never. A few times a year. Wow, that's strange. So, Wait, religious attendance at age 12, 13%. Oh, I see. The never increases. Right, these increase. The never increases. The few times a year increases. This one decreases, which is interesting. It probably goes into there, and obviously these go into there. So yeah, okay, this is whatever. So, okay, there's not any reason for this decline, but rather several factors working together in a kind of perfect storm. I do think that they miss a lot in this, but I'll go with what they have and then add my own. Social values have shifted away from authority and tradition and toward individualism and autonomy. Okay, that yeah, okay. Children growing up in this culture shift are primed to look at long established religious institutions with suspicion. Well, they're being the culture is priming them to believe this, and we're not teaching what church really is, and what you do in church, and how you are a part of church, and how you're part of the members, and you're part of the leadership, and you're part of doing things. And when you look at churches, you see all these elders and running things, and I'm a deacon at my church, which is an elder in other churches, because we don't have elders. We don't have enough to form an elder group, so our deacons are kind of treated as elders. The definition of leadership in a church is to serve. The pastor is serving, and the deacons are serving, or the elders are serving. And the pagans and the culture of the left is teaching that leadership is power, and so they all think of it as power. When I'm the leader of my family and of my wife and I completely understand what that means. Like this morning, she had a little espresso can and she popped the lid, and the lid broke, and so she was trying to use a can opener to open up the can, like a Coke can. And I'm like, you just tap it with something and it'll open up. She's like, oh, see, I'm a leader. Told her what to do to serve her. Okay. All right. Social values have shifted away from authority and tradition. And, authority and tradition, I don't even like those terms. It's more shifted away from Christ and the church, or, secular crap and selfishness and lust and self, like most of the movies today about doing good are vengeance. Vengeance is a pagan tenet. Revenge is a pagan tenet. So you see all these hitman movies, all these hero movies where they go and kill the bad guys. Now, in my game, you can kill bad guys, but your first goal is to try to convert them, try to evangelize, and try to change them. And in my APOC game with the adults, they converted the Imperial gang raiders, some of them, and they killed some of them because they had to, because there was combat, and they got the others to surrender, and now they're working on converting them, but they're very nervous because they're in their church, in the community there, and they're like, oh my gosh, these guys could turn. See, so there's this whole fun role-playing aspect of that they're nervous about, and I rolled secretly what their thing is. So and I don't think they were going to watch this. Well, one of them generally does, but I'll just reveal the secret, just a full disclosure. And they kind of know this anyway, because based on the role playing. But the raiders that are sort of in prison, but are at their church community, that they planted, they're hanging out there, but they're converted in a sense. But whichever the way the wind blows, they will, like, if they see that the Empire is winning, they'll change sides. So that's what I rolled in the I have a little table in the game, in the book, where you can, the planted seed chart, where you can secretly roll after they successfully convert someone. And what I mean by convert too in the game is you don't convert them to be full on Christian, although that is a possibility. You just get them to chill so that you could start ministering to them, and then you keep rolling that out. But there's an underlying seed there that if that seed is triggered, they could either change or go full Christian, but I don't tell them what that seed is, and it's based on what else happens in the game to trigger it, or whatever, or they'll just leave on their own, or escape, or whatever, or betray them. But again, I didn't roll that. I rolled that they're waiting to see which way, if the Christian, if the adventurers keep killing the Empire people, then these guys are stronger than our Empire, so I guess we'll stick around and be part of this. Is that a true Christian? No, but but as a church, you can't do that. You have to keep shepherding, the good, the bad, everybody together and keep working on it. The end of the Cold War created a change in American identity with faith, where faith in God became less central. I don't know. Some of the stuff is like, there's stuff all over the place, but I'll just go through really quickly. Early internet discourse in the mid-2000s, subsequent social media platforms exposed younger generations to doubts and atheist arguments, enable them to form communities outside religious boundaries. Well, Dungeons and Dragons is one of them. But yeah, I remember Hitchens and all them back when the internet was exploding, how the atheists jumped onto that so fast, whereas Christians were like, well, we got a really good book here. But the atheists are like, we've got the internet and we're going to, and the YouTube, and we're going to sell you our bull crap, and of course they did some really good books too, where like, I know Hitchens did some great books, great in the sense of successfully undermining Christianity and all that. What's hilarious though is that those same atheists today who are gotten older, and he died, but some of the others like, oh, I want the Christian culture back, please. I really like it, because Islam has taken over Europe, and so they're. And Hitchens, though, he was so witty and drunk and did a lot of things that really destroyed a lot of faith for younger generations. And he, and I know I'm directly affected by that, directly family sense. But and his brother is hardcore Christian. But anyway, whatever. Yeah, that happened. There was a bunch of atheist charlatans who really became famous and sold such crap. And hey, way it is. Moral scandals on the part of Catholics and Protestants alike turned a lot of people off to organized religion. That one I really hate, because those scandals were still below what public schools do, what comedians do. Yet comedians attack the Catholic Church and Protestants, whereas their sexual immoralities, like what's his face? Oh, God, I really hate that guy now. The one that masturbated in front of the women. C.K. Lewis. What a piece of crap he is. He did these anti-Catholic videos on YouTube to dog them, like full productions, full on YouTube videos to attack the Catholic Church. Turns out he was masturbating in front of women who wanted comedy gigs from him. He would masturbate. Like, I remember reading something where she comes into his office. He's in an office. Oh yeah, man. And he would literally pull down his pants in front of her and just start masturbating. And she was like, come on, what the hell? And there was more than one. So these guys were attacking Catholics and Protestants. Yeah, this is what they were doing. And today we know that the public school system is the worst, even percentage-wise. And by the way, the Catholics that were priests, the vast majority, 80 to 90%, were gay men, young gay men, or young men who were doing exactly what the gay said they would do. There's the gay agenda. There's a document or an article written 1987. It's submitted into Congress. The Gay Manifesto of 1987. You can look it up. They declared in there. Once it got public, because it was written in San Francisco, and that section of San Francisco, but it was written in a magazine. It was a Gay Manifesto declaring that we're going to seduce your men, your young boys, in the bathrooms, in the churches, in the locker rooms, with fellatio, with blowjobs. And that's what they did. So the gay men went into the Catholic Church, whether they wanted to or not, whether they were sincere about their ending their sin, or they were just as evil as can be, and then did that. That is not talked about. The only thing talked about is how evil the Catholic Church is. And so, Catholics, I'm defending you, even though I'm a Protestant. You need to fight harder. At the Natural History Museum, they have an anti-Catholic section, pure anti-Catholic, pro-pagan. I wish you guys knew. I gotta tell somebody here locally, but it is a whole thing that attacks the missions, the mission churches, or up and down the coast that helped colonize and civilize California, and we talk about it like it's a slavery thing, like people like Indians and natives all died there, which is a bunch of bullcrap. Anyway, the partisan culture war. Yeah, we need to be the political left center. Look askance at traditional religion. Boy, this family says a little nice. I guess that's why they're professionals and I'm an amateur, which they see as incompatible with their worldviews. Yeah, they're evil. Increased education and delayed family formation led young adults to stray further away from faith for longer periods of time, making return more difficult. Yeah, increased education, which is unnecessary and wasted money and time. College is such a corrupt thing right now. Delayed family formation. Yep. Start early. As extracurricular activities in the teenage years and professional demands in adulthood have increased, for many people, faith was not so much abandoned as just crowded out. Yeah. That's why you got to get this game, man. Something to do. Extracurricular activity. See, they want dissipation. They want you to waste your time with D&D and Star Wars and fandom stuff and silly stories and made-up stories that don't really do anything. They just waste your time. Perfectly fine with Satan. They want you to waste your time. He does not want you to be part of a church and be effective for Christ. Okay. Let's move on. Parents can pass down faith by practicing it themselves and preaching what they practice. Specifically, by modeling religion, they show their kids what it should look like. This game shows you what it should look like. Evangelism, planting churches, preaching, praying. You got a praying thing in there. When you pray and if you're successful, every success is an inspired die that all the players get. So if you pray and you have 3 successes, which I consider critical, so you may be a little extra, but everyone gets 3 inspired die so they can spend them later on the rolls. You know, if I have 3, I can spend 1 here and 1 there and get an extra die for the roll. By making religion a family activity. Hello. Okay. I should be a millionaire right now just because of that. You guys support me. A million of you. So I can be a millionaire. Guess what I would do with $1 million? I got it. After taxes. Let's say after taxes I got $1 million. I'd give 100,000 to the church. Probably give another 50,000 to things with the church. I would go on a trip with the wife around Europe. Although I might need heightened security. I would get first class tickets, airline. I would definitely do all the luxury stuff as far as traveling, because that's just the way I am. But guess what I would do? During the day, I would go to churches, any church, and look for information about church history, like about missionary stuff. That's what I would do all day. And then at night, go to a restaurant, have some wine, up to the wife. That's it. Go to bed. Do the next thing, and then figure that out every day. That's what I do. And then visit her family. But that's what I would do. I would do that because I love the Lord, and I would want to try to get more church history stuff that I could for the game. Yeah, that's what I would do. That's all I want to do. And I guess we'd go hiking or something just to get some exercise or do something like that. But by talking about faith at home, they help their children understand religion and why it matters. So we had a wedding, and everything at our wedding was so Christian. The chapel wedding service was Christian, hardcore, but only 30 minutes, thankfully. And then we went to the wine bar, nice little wine bar. I did a huge, joyous thing there and brought up the Lord there in front of all our friends who are mostly not Christian, because my daughter's in the culinary. She's a chef, full-on hardcore chef at a super awesome restaurant. She left, though. Now she's married. She wants to be a wife for a little while. And then she's going to think about what she's going to do next. But the chef at the restaurant, fancy, high-end LA restaurant, I would say like the #1 restaurant in LA. But and she was running the kitchen. But he's waiting for her to come back or any ideas she has for what she wants to do. Anyway, so a bunch of those people were there who are not believers at all. I think maybe one or something. But that's who my daughter had to be with and amongst her faith. Anyway, by talking about faith, they help their children understand religion. Okay, so at home, I talk about my faith so easily now, so readily with people. My wife and I, her sister-in-law, her sister, her youngest sister, her baby sister, came in to be with the wedding, and we went to Venice, rode our bikes, and then we went to stand at the bar at the beach. It was nice afternoon. I had a little spritzer. And guess what we talked about? Faith and religion and Christ. Because she was very pagan. She has very pagan-y motifs around her little apartment and her life. And she fessed that she really is Christian, like she really loves Jesus. But she never, and I didn't give her a hard time. I was like, oh, wow, okay. I was very encouraging. But anyway, my wife was so excited that I spoke this to her. She got a little horny, but that was funny for all of us, all 3 of us. That was awkward. But I'm saying, as Christians, men and husband and wives, we have a very healthy sexual life. Like, it's wonderful and healthy, and that you too can have that. Just be a dang Christian. But it was funny that she said that to me while we're going home. Walking to the parking lot back home. I'm like, hey, hey, I just did evangelism. Chill, wife. And she was just thrilled and excited and, whatever. And then, of course, I just yelled it out to the sister-in-law. Just everyone's cracking up. Anyway, but the end result now is that my wife is helping her find a church because she got a new position, new place in England. So she's going to look around, on Google Maps and look for some church and help her out. And sister is excited about that. And so this is later on in life that we're doing this because of my game. My game has helped me to understand, I've been growing as a Christian in the last 10, 12 years, and this is part of that. And granted, the churches have helped me too, for sure, because that's where I started figuring this out too. But the whole circular role-playing interaction with with the friends that we play with other Christian men is what has really gotten me. So it's just so comfortable to do that. Talk about faith at home. It's just very comfortable to me, very normal. And I'm obsessed with, like, I don't want to talk about sports. I don't want to talk about movies. I don't want to really. Some politics, but politics gets sour. Politics. I love politics. I'm a conservative right-wing maggot, but I know, whenever I talk about it, even with church members, it gets dark really fast. But when you talk about Christ, man, even if it gets dark, you just can go to prayer. You can go to something wonderful, joyful, and you can back off. As a Christian, I can back off and let people, wallow in their misery or bitterness, and I'm fine with that. Politics is just dark, and it starts to get darker with each response and ridiculousness. That there's just no point in it. You got to get to the heart of each person. You get them to either calm down as an evil person, a wicked person, or get them to see that they're not, that the wickedness that they have been living in is a sham, shameful. Okay, faith transition from parents to children. Let's see. Parent attended weekly in childhood. Okay, I'm gonna pass that up. Putting the practice in religious practice. So let me. Believing in, what is this? Families said grace in childhood, prayed with parents outside meals, church, and childhood. Okay, so it's family prayer and adult religiousness. Yeah, okay. Okay, theological teachings can be complicated and non-intuitive, so children need instructions to understand them. So, obviously, parents need to be willing to not only practice but also talk about religion regularly. This is for several reasons. Yeah, theological teachings can be complicated. But for children, if you're just doing this game, there's no deep theology. You don't have to do deep theology. It's just about Jesus is our Savior, getting the basics. Because when you do street evangelism, or when you do evangelism to people in your family or in conversation at the bar or at the restaurant, it's very light. I'm not going into deep theology. I'm not going into grace. I'm not going into eschatology. I'm not going into what happened to Israel or anything like that. There's Jesus Christ and what he did. He came down, he died, he sacrificed himself, showed us he's gone through our suffering and proved to us that he loves us. That's forgiving us for our sins and him dying, that kind of stuff. And so it's not complicated. It's very simple to discuss that with children in this game. It's really easy. And for them to regurgitate the basics of Christianity is very fun and very simple. And intuitive, and it makes sense too. When the pagans say we worship the giant lizards, we worship the scary spirits in the back of the bunker, we worship the emperor of this tribe and clan, very easy to understand the importance of Christianity and this theology that we do. In secularizing culture, even children in religious households may develop a sense that their religious lives at home, however positive, don't have much to do with the concerns of the outside world, like getting good grades, engaging in hobbies or extracurricular activities, or maintaining good friendships. Well, my game just destroyed that, or just covered that, right? Engaging in hobbies or extracurricular activities. Bam! Bam! I did medieval armored combat. You can see here with my helmets. Those are real steel and everything. Fighting, hardcore. I'm not doing it anymore. What's funny is I'm kind of in better shape now than I was then doing it, but I'm not doing it because I enjoyed it. I loved, the guys were good. They're all pagan though. And even the main guy who ran it, nice guy. And I even gave him the gospel. At one point we had a long drive where we were getting some wood, but he hasn't, come back with me on anything on that. But he still reaches out to me once in a while, although not lately, just because I haven't doing anything with them. And it's been like 2 years now that I haven't done much with them, because I just didn't see my Christian faith really happening there, and I felt like I needed to go somewhere where I could really use my Christian faith, the church and in these games and stuff. And it's the medieval armored combat is very time consuming. And when we were doing tournaments, my wife was sitting there, kind of just sitting there amongst a bunch of pagans. They were all nice. Satan, there was even a Satanist. They were all nice, but they were all just saying their pagan stuff, and we, I wanted to fight. She wanted to just be helpful and have a good time. But there was we couldn't do evangelism there because we were outnumbered. And the only other guy that said something Christian, turns out, was a flaming gay guy who, I don't know what his dealio was. I didn't really get that involved with the guy, but he was. So I just I didn't have a heart for it to keep doing it. So I just decided, I guess I've just sort of, I never fully decided to not do it. I just haven't been doing it. I just don't have any desire. You really got to have a desire to do it, like that sort of insecure, testosterone driven anger and desire for pride and ego thing, which I don't have, and I don't really care to. And to do it for fun requires a lot of that, because it's so much sweat and pain, and even like the strapping of the armor and putting it on and figuring out what's rubbing and giving you, not rashes, but skin burns, and blah blah blah. It's just like, I'd rather go to church and work on some church stuff. Engage. Okay, so getting good grades, homeschool, maintaining good friendships. This is fellowship. That, remember, D&D, and a lot of people, including Christians and Christian men, are using D&D as fellowship, and it's replacing church. It's replacing Christian fellowship. This is Christian fellowship, and it does the same thing. It's the same game. You just don't have stupid, wizardly, obscure magic. You can still do magic. We believe in magic, and you can even, push the magic if you want, because there's certainly myths and legends about that, even in the hagiographies. You can do that if you want, if you need to, but I don't need to in my games. There's plenty of scary stuff with. I do witches that curse you, and they'll puff something at you. I do kind of mix in the alchemical stuff with the dark magic and curses and stuff. I do kind of that thing where they throw out clouds of poison that, hallucinations, and I do push those envelopes a little bit further as well with the magic. And my magic system is a bit vague. Like, I leave it open for you to just do it's almost like you're doing the same dice mechanics, but you're just describing it in different ways. Because the same, it's funny that even in D&D, you're just trying to either take down their hit points, you're trying to disable them, you're trying to kill them. That's all you do with these with the dice, but you can describe it however you want. And disabling them is hallucinations, paralyzation, penalties to rolls, blah blah blah. So however you want to describe it. You want to say tentacles are flying in the air and blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. You want to say spikes coming out of the ground and do hit points on them, fine. Whatever. I just make it simple, and then you can decide how to describe it however you want. But the simplicity of it is, the evil person throws a bunch of dice. Any successes can cause them damage, and they got to resist, and you can describe it however you want. So I could probably beef that up a little, but it's only like a couple pages, and you can kind of play it the way you want. As kids get old, and I minimize the magic too. There's, most of it's like, and besides in APOC, you don't really need it much because there are guns and poison and gases and things like that. There is fear. You gotta resist fear. There's that kind of stuff. And stress. Anyway, as kids get older and encounter arguments against Christian beliefs, they may find their faith shaken if they haven't been prepared. In this game, they are preparing. They're preparing. Okay, please. Their Christian beliefs are being prepared by this game, because I am arguing against their faith in the game as the pagans constantly, and it's hilarious and fun, and they have fun doing it. They have fun defending their faith, and it's joyful. So when they go out into the world, it's going to be fun and joyful there. Move on. All right. I'm back. I had to go quick break. Okay. I'm glad I stopped and looked at this. In short, to sustain faith commitments in a world that doesn't support them, children need to understand the what and why of religion. And it's up to parents with the support of the churches and other sources, my game, to articulate the answer to those questions. Spiritual formation must feed the mind as well as body and soul. So the game, my game, our game, your game, gives the what and why. It answers it in a fun, hilarious game. What and why. When we go out to the world, they are suffering, they are soulless, they're hopeless, they're angry, they're pagan, they're dissipation, wasting time with silly things, and the society is degrading. Here in Hollywood and LA, it is disgusting now. This happened since the first Trump, since TDS started, and since he's been fighting back, and the churches are waking up. The left has gone full bore Marxist Islamo, and Hollywood is ugly. There's weeds everywhere. There's trash. We have a neighborhood thing that's I just got an email saying, let's go out to Hollywood and Sunset and clean it up. And I'm like, I'm not going to go. The reason I'm not going to go, and the reason I don't help clean it up, is because it doesn't matter. If we don't have the city having the will to clean up the streets weekly or bi-weekly, then it's going to be disgusting. And if we don't enforce homeless stuff, there's a homeless guy yesterday. I was walking by and he's just yelling and screaming at one of the stores, like at the glass window. There was I actually experienced two yesterday. There was one at the in Hollywood. And there's another one carrying and I saw him carrying it, but he seemed docile to me at the time. But when I talked to one of the merchants, they said, yeah, that guy was walking by screaming and yelling and threatening people with this metal pole he found. This is common in this Democrat utopia because of the paganism, because of the hellhole, and because they're the grift, they're the fraud. The water and power is fraudulent now, with tons of them making millions of dollars. Everything is becoming corrupt because there's no one confronting the corruption. So at my church, I want to start us a little group there. I hope I'm gonna try this out. And someone got murdered by a machete right on our Hollywood Boulevard by some homeless people because they had a pit bull that attacked him. He fought it off with a knife, probably stabbed it. He was at a bus stop right by them. Then 4 homeless guys, one with a machete, came and attacked him and killed him, cut him up. This is the world we're living in right now here in Hollywood. And those guys, homeless people with dogs, is commonplace. They use their dogs. Now I hear it from Spencer Pratt. I learned this, that they use them to test their drugs out to see if they're okay. So they have these pit bulls not on leashes. So what I want to do as a church is confront the police department and say, you need to enforce leash laws on dogs on Hollywood, everywhere. Who is requiring the police to do that? Nobody. Democrats are not requiring them to do it. It's a law. It's actually a law. But no one is enforcing it. The police are not enforcing it. Because no one is making them enforce it. There's no enforcement. So laws here are optional. Okay, so why is we're bringing church back? We're explaining to the people of paganism that their worship of the beasts and of the dead and of the spirits is worthless and ridiculous, and they need a church and they need to build each other up and protect each other. So in one of the games in the same game with the kids at school or church, they do this at school. Well, they'll probably say no because it's Christian. But if it's gay, it's okay. So I had the survivors, what is a church? Asking them, what is a church? But as they're like leaving to go back to the original bunker to get some more supplies, they said, hey, here's our children. We want to give you our children. If you give us more food, we will sell you our children, trade you our children. Because that's normal for pagans to sell their children. On the BBC, they had an article. A Muslim dad, commonplace in Afghanistan, selling their daughters. Oh, and the BBC made this story a sad story. Oh, guess who? Christians called it out for what it is: pure evil. For BBC for doing it, for promoting it, they're promoting it, and for Muslims to accept this as normal, and they do accept it because it is chattel. Women are chattel right now in modern Islamic regimes and states, and we need to fight it. And the only ones that are fighting it is Christianity, the church. Where is the church? We're very weak. Okay, this is clear in the data that would show that talking about religion at home growing up is one of the strongest predictors of becoming a religious adult. Children who grew up in a household where faith was discussed several times a week or more, or were twice as likely to attend church, say religion was very important to them and pray daily in young adulthood, or around 20 percentage points more likely to identify as Christian and believe the divinity of Jesus Christ. So praying is important, but it's not but it is lame if praying becomes a ritual. If all you do is pray with your kids, that is a waste. It has to mean something. I don't resent this, and I do enjoy praying at dinner and all that. That's fine. But when, we forgot to pray, I'm like, no, let's just have dinner and it's fine. I don't have to pray every time. A prayer has to be important, not obligatory. It has to matter, not be obligatory. And I don't mind praying in a joyful, fun way for dinner and being grateful, but I don't want it to be something where, we got to do this. Like we had a memorial for my sister, and the whole hour was about prayer and about God and about memorial. And then when we came home, what was interesting is my cousin said, should we pray? And I said, no, it's fine, because we were praying for an hour. I'm like, that's fine. And my other family members like, we got to pray. I'm like, no. I was the leader of the house, leader of this family at that moment. Still am, sort of. But I said no. And the reason I said no is I wanted my unbelieving cousins to understand that prayer is an important part of our lives, but it's not obligatory. It's not a ritual. So I don't want it to be a ritual. Some of my family members want it to be a ritual. It's not the way I worship God. So prayer needs to be, and when we pray in the game, they pray in earnest for inspired die, bonus points. But it's for what they're about to do, whatever adventure they're going on, whatever mission, whatever they're confronting giant lizards, they're confronting the people, and they can't just do it every time they want. And what's cool about this game system is that you can add other people's dice to the prayer. Like someone's going to pray, someone can play some music. All right, roll that. Any successes can add to it, so they get to roll their music thing, how well they play. Someone has a hymn book, they can add that. That's a +1. They can add a Bible verse +1. It's appropriate or whatever, if it's cool, so whenever there's those type of things, like you can even cook, women can do cooking or mothering and stuff that help give those inspired die as well. Men can do it too, but women are a little bit better at it, etc. And people can work together for that role, so that role becomes an interactive thing where everyone can try to contribute to that role. And I'll say yes to most, but some will say no. These results contain important lessons that runs counter to some modern conventional wisdom. Many parents worry about bringing up faith too much with their children, driving them away or jamming it down their throats. Okay, so this one kind of pisses me off, because I remember this in the 80s. I remember everywhere, NPR, all the ABC, CBS, NBC, all the TV shows and stuff talked about how you don't teach your children. Basically, they said, give your children the freedom to be their own person, and they would say it like that too. You gotta let them have their own way. So the churches did not respond to that. And you know what I noticed too about televangelists? It felt like the only televangelists that were promoted were sort of the controversial ones who were strident. I never saw the promotion of, say, Pastor John MacArthur or reasonable, actual priests who televised their stuff. Like, I always heard about the fallen ones on NBC, ABC, CBS. I never heard about the good ones that had great success. Like, I just never saw them. Or maybe they did them and nobody watched it, and we were constantly being, why am I picking with this pick? We were constantly they were constantly promoting or doing the dark stories of the fallen ones. So that's all I saw of Christianity when I was a kid, as a Catholic growing up kid. Okay. But I saw, even in my own parents, that they didn't want to tell us anything. The entire generation was told not to teach their kids. And I am pissed off at that. And I tell people and parents now, even young parents who don't want to hear it, teach your kids. Brainwash them. I say I brainwash my daughters. Brainwash your kids, because if you don't do it, they're going to do it. The world is going to do it, and they want your kids dumb so they can brainwash them. And that is evil. Uckin evil. Uckin evil. I swear a lot, by the way, which I shouldn't. Okay. Some may worry they'll be unable to answer their children's questions, or shy away from talking about moral teachings that conflict with many modern views, especially sex and marriage. Parents may hope that quietly modeling faithful lives and putting good faith in religion will be enough. Nope. And that too much religion talk might seem strange, off-putting, or drift into uncomfortable topics. So how do you solve this? Fellowshipping with other Christians. That's how. I will say this in a sort of frustrated confession. I went to Grace Community Church under Pastor John MacArthur, and I was in the men's group for years, and I found them in there to be, and I've said this on other videos, I found them to be weak in the men's group, and I was kind of annoyed and frustrated, and I left after 3 or 4 years of that, because I didn't want to start attacking the way I was, and I found them to be weak, and not all the men, but the men in my group were, and it was kind of like, I felt like it was the leftover group, because I didn't like pick a group, and I just, wherever you want me kind of thing, and they put me in that group. And when I started to respond to things, everything I said was truculent, obtuse, brusque, and kind of everyone got all. I could have, maybe should have stayed, but something about God or something told me not to. I don't know, but I'm glad that where I am now. So I'm glad I didn't stay in that sense. But boy, I made some. Anyway, let's move on. Okay. Let me read a little bit. I kind of pause. I'm going to read a little bit and then I'm going to talk about it. Okay. We should not dismiss these concerns altogether. Some people do report being turned off to religion when their parents came on too strong, or having their faith shaken when adults could not answer their questions, or when difficult conversations were handled poorly. Such discussions came at a cost when parents come off as dogmatic, preacher, or ill-prepared. Fellowship with other men. I have noticed other Christians who I find very annoying. The first thing I ask them is, are you in a men's group? Not walk around with men. Are you in a men's group fellowshipping? You know, even the one I just said. Because you got to learn. You got to be a part of something where you actually talk. Now, the one bad thing about that men's group is they did a lesson for our music. It was like a church service, so it was kind of annoying to me. And then they had a 15-minute discussion. 15 minutes is not enough. Yeah, so that was the failure on that. There needs to be an hour of actual, and we do like hour, 2 hours of. And we do 2 hours. We have a small group on Friday, we do 2 hours, and then once a month on Saturday we do 2 hours. And we're just talking, like with the Bible, with the verses, or we had a book that we were going through, but the book was just about Bible. We kind of just went to the Bible verses. I kind of don't even think we need the book. I think we just, I don't think we need books. I think we just need the Bible, and just talk about topics if we want. But anyway, and we talk for an hour, 2 hours. And I have had at my church sort of this a few confrontations or conflicts or whatever, and I am learning now to resolve them quickly, like within a day or two. Apologize or discuss or say, hey, I come off this way, but you're important, but like stuff like that, and it works out really well, or so far. But it is me and him and other men learning and refining and getting better and understanding our quirks with each other and all that. So, and becoming more patient with mistakes or fallibilities or whatever. So that requires fellowship. So you cannot accomplish this with your children unless you put the time in fellowship with other men. And I say that purposely because women should do it too, but I say it just to be a sexist pig. Okay. Let me read some more and then I'll comment. Let me just read this. Yet, according to the data, efforts to pass on the faith are more often undermined not by parents laying it on too thick, but by taking too light a touch. The relevance of Christianity in modern life isn't affirmed by the larger culture. That's for sure. They're erasing it. They're erasing church history. They're erasing the Templars, the Crusades, the witch hunts, and the importance of those and the success of them. The colonizing of the different countries, and now how they're regressing back into paganism and slavery and brutality and rape gangs and HIV being spread amongst them. In Africa, it's huge. Africa, the women, the young girls are getting gang raped, and it's a rite of passage for the young men in paganism, and HIV is being spread really on a large scale. And Bill Gates and all of them are now trying to bring in the HIV drug there with NGO funding, and so that the rape gangs can continue. Because of the colonizing is regressing and the church is regressing, the world is turning back to evil. I read that somewhere in some book. Okay, Modern lifestyle is okay. If kids aren't taught why and how faith matters, they are likely to assume that it does not matter, or at best, the faith is just one lifestyle choice among others. If gladiator brutality and rape gangs is what you want, and human sacrifice, baby sacrifice for Golden Globes, if they are not free to ask hard questions about religion, they may assume there are no answers. It thus falls on parents to set a tone in a household where talk of religion is normal, and to prepare for the hard theological and moral conversations, especially as their kids get older. This is a key area where churches and religious leaders are in a position to offer guidance and serve as the key resources for both parents and youth. So I am comfortable with creation science. I'm comfortable with philosophy, with atheism. I've gone to evilbible.com and find it hilarious, and I delve into it deeply. Evilbible.com is I think it's still there, but it's a site where they find all the evil verses and quotes in the Bible, and it is hilarious. Like that's all you got, you know? Because I went there early on when I was an early Christian, and it cracked me up, man. I gotta do another video on it, but it cracked me up because I was like, oh, they must know all of the lies of the Bible, you know? Because when I was an early Christian, I was testing God. See, I get to judge God and his ultimate wisdom and joy and love and sacrifice for us as Jesus Christ. I get to test it. I get to decide if it's, you know, worthy of my attention. But I went to Eva Bible and I wanted the best, the worst. Give it to me. Destroy the Bible for me. You guys as the Christians, let the atheists tell you everything they know. Oh, really? Because it's hilarious. It's so... Did you read the couple of verses before and after that? No? Even no? Oh, okay. It's just funny. I'll give you one example. They talked about two guys. This is in the Old Testament, like in Deuteronomy or Numbers. I forget which one, but I'll look it up later. It's hilarious, though. And I even like, oh, yeah, that's a good point. It says like these two guys were going around in Israel, or in Israel, and they got to kill them, stop them because of their teachings are false. So they got to kill them. I'm like, aha. Christianity is like Islam. See, they have this one phrase in here about this. Islam has it all over, but there's no criticizing that. Islam, the Quran has it all over. Kill the unbeliever, kill the Jews, kill the Christians, subjugate them, and enslave them, rape them. All of it. It's replete. In the Bible, there's one little area where it says that. And I'm like, aha! Bible is evil. Evil Bible. Well, if you go down further, a couple of paragraphs or whatever, they were going around trying to convince the Jews to sacrifice their babies. That's what they were doing. They were trying to go around and sacrifice their babies for abortion, for if you want a Golden Globe, if you want a music career, you gotta give up your child to us. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Murder your child, sacrifice it on a fire, we'll burn it slowly so it screams. And then we do chants with music and drums as it screams in utter horrifying pain as a baby, a defenseless little baby. There's nothing wrong with that. Come on, people, let's do it. That's what they're doing today with your children. But they muffle it because the children cannot scream in the womb. They're so smart, these pagans. Let's move on to this one. Okay, what the importance of fathers? I'm just kind of going through some of this, okay, because it's all great and it's a big article. I think we're almost done. Are we on this thing? When asked who is more responsible for how your children learn about religion, just 17% of dads cite themselves compared to 39% of moms. It's the dads. It's the dads. It's the fathers. You're the most important part of their learning. The moms are very, very important. Trust me. I mean, and as a Christian, we all know this. As a pagan, what I just said is so offensive to them. And I've even had some light Christians be offended that I would say something like this. They think it's a partnership of 50-50, which is bull crap. It's not 50-50. It's 100% this and 100% that. 100% for the father and 100% for the mother. But they're different 100%. So the child gets 200%. He doesn't get asinine 50% of something and asinine 50% of something. The father is teaching them in the way that they should go. The mother is there to give them compassion, love, and mothering, and that sort of thing. The man is to give them courage, give them focus, even the daughters, and get them to understand that they need to be protected by men. That's important to teach women. They cannot go out there on their own to the bars or go out there get exposed by themselves, that is deadly and pathetic. And that's one of the biggest things. The rape gangs, they go after women who go out, and young girls who go out on their own, thinking they can just do it on their own. They think they have this freedom. Christians, we know that women need to be protected, not enslaved, not chattel, but protected, and even protected amongst us Christian men. We at our churches have rules where the men cannot be alone with the children. The fathers cannot be alone with the other children. The children cannot sit on the lap of a man during child watch. And a man cannot take children to the bathroom. You know why we have those rules? Because we're freaking intelligent. We actually know the nature of man in this life. And women that act like men do these things. But women who understand they are women and do the role of a woman do not do those things, generally speaking. But we still have two adults. And they're not husband and wife either. Gotta be two unmarried adults watching the kids or doing the game that I do. I have to have two adults, me and not my wife, someone else. And I purposely do it in the parlor where there's traffic, where people can come and go. Because I do not want a private room with the kids. Even though they trust me, I trust them. The pastor trusts me. He knows my life or whatever. I don't want to be in a private room with them. Because I understand sin. Oh, you're not, yeah. You're the charlatan if you're going to say you're better than me. You're the charlatan, So anyway. Teenagers who attend church are most likely to attend with both their mother and father. However, among those who attend with one parent, 79% attend with their mother compared to 20% who attend with their father. Yeah. That one's a tough one. You got to be married, man. That's, with my daughters and their husbands, that's the biggest fear of my life now, or concern or whatever. Not a fear, but, sadness. And I'm praying to the Lord that they have children together and they stay married together, because if they get divorced and with children, that's to me very heartbreaking and heart-wrenching for my daughters to go, I don't know what tragedies they're going to experience in life with their husband and with their children. That's life. It's tough. And I'm doing all I can to prepare them, Jesus Christ, as their comfort. Even among regular churchgoers, mothers report significantly. I got my dry coffee mouth. Mothers report significantly more frequent faith-encouraging conversations with their children than fathers. That's not good, and I disagree with that. Like I doubt that, because in the sense of I'm sure they have faith encouraging, but not faith fortifying, not faith theology like strength. It's more like nice stuff, and that is the mother's role, but that is not going to solidify their faith. A mother's encouragement is emotional, which is important, and compassionate. It is not going to make them Christian men. Christian men need their fathers. Okay, 41%. Okay, let me see. Yet intergenerational transmission of religion is strongest when both parents, of course, actively promote within the home. Children are more likely to retain Christian beliefs and practices into adulthood when they receive consistent messaging from both mothers and fathers rather than relying on one parent alone. In other words, two involved parents are better than one. Okay, this is, pass this up. Making the home a haven. Yeah, marital stability. Yeah, that's a given. I'm going to go ahead and move on. Family disruption in church attendance by gender. Ooh, step family. Ooh, this is interesting. I'm going to move on to this, though. Marital satisfaction, parent-child relationship quality. All right, let me pause this and I'll look through what else I need to go through. Because we all know about the family stuff. Okay, I do want to talk about the media oversight. One of the challenges of parenthood is striking a balance between being a friend on the one hand and an authority figure on the other. Parents are responsible for establishing warm and loving relationships with their children, but also for setting rules and boundaries. Children do their best when the parents love them unconditionally, but also hold them to a high standard. The insight can be applied to faith formation. One way that parents can set appropriate boundaries is by paying close attention to children's media diet. This is especially important today when much of the children available content is unfriendly to Christian values. Social media addiction is rampant, and the threat of pornography looms large. Our findings confirm that when parents monitor their teens' media more closely, they are more likely to produce religious children. When parents closely monitor TV time, their kids were more likely to attend worship, say religion is very important, pray daily, identify as Christian, and believe in Jesus in young adulthood. When they closely monitor the internet access, the same result held for each outcome except weekly attendance, as the figure shows. Okay, so we already know this. We already know that this is a part of it, but there's so many games out there that are removing. Let me focus on this aspect of this, and I come across them. There's so many games, especially role-playing games and even computer games. Computer games is big, that are changing history, and they're making Christianity the villain, or they're using Christian motifs, but they're erasing the foundation that started it. For instance, I just saw an indie game, a Kickstarter, that was about medieval knights fighting alien incursion that act like fantasy creatures, or whatever, in medieval times. I'm like, ooh, that was cool. So I looked at it, and it said these knights are not religious zealots at all. They have committed to science and reason. Like, what? That's so pathetic. All knights in medieval times were Christian, like Crusader knights, Templar knights, Teutonic knights, even the royal knights. Now, I'm not saying they're all theologically sound Christians, and many were sinners, and there were some bad ones. But the system was created through chivalry by Christian monks who started giving these men in leadership roles codes of conduct which were Christian and chivalric, and their goal was to help the community or help the system, which was the feudal system, because that was, at the time, the best system they could have, and that was not about slavery, but it was about having an order to the chaos. But they're erasing it, and even like Shadow Dark and some other sort of new role-playing games that are coming out, they will have Christian motifs, but of course not Jesus Christ or God. They'll have, a female god. And the Shadow Dark, done by a lesbian, which is sort of popular, it's a role-playing game. But she has the priory, she has monks, she has clerics, she has saints, and her god is a lawful good female saint, which is bullcrap. They have saints in there. So this stuff just kind of, as happy-dappy and nice and polite as these people are, I just want to start yelling out and rebuking them. And I have in my videos, but, I'm who I am. So, and then there's even that game, Assassin's Creed, which you all don't realize is teaching us to hate the Templars and hate Christianity. Made the Templars look like villains. The Templars are villains, and and the Assassins are actually Muslim. Muslim created the Assassins. The Assassins were people who went around as Muslims. The assassin is a Muslim word. And I think assassin comes from hashish, which they were all stoned on hashish, but they were Muslim. And they were going around assassinating whoever they felt like they needed to assassinate, because they couldn't fight them with armies, so they just did that. And mostly the assassins were going after other Muslims they hated, like other Muslim leaders, but they would go after Templars too. But the Templars were harder for them to deal with. But so this is just amazing that we have a game about assassins and Islamic assassins killing Templars, and the assassins are the heroes. Assassin's Creed. Now, what's weird about this Assassin's Creed is he's like a white boy, which maybe he's like a Janissary, because remember the Muslims would enslave Christian boys to be warriors and forcefully convert them to Islam. And this is generational. They took the first sons or the best sons of all the Christians villages that they conquered, and would basically abduct as an army, take them away. This is the evil of Islam is so pathetically massive that, and the left and the Democrats empower it throughout history, and even today in Europe and now here in America, they're empowering this, and the church has become silent. And so Islam has gang rapes amongst white girls purposely against Christian girls, and gang rapes, like not just rape, gang rapes people. So it's time for the church to wake up. It's time for us Christian men to wake up and to rebuke, be obtuse, be brusque, be unfiltered, wherever you go, whatever you do, and stop playing D&D. Start doing this. Start teaching our kids to go out. I got to get back to being a little nice here. Go out and create games that are about them learning about this stuff, about being Christian. The importance of congregation and community. This report has emphasized that parents play the single most important role in passing on faith to the next generation. Wealth of evidence supports. So you'd fellowship, be in a church, do something with it at the church with your kids. I recommend this. Do pickleball, basketball, fishing, hunting. Create a group at your church, a hobby. That's fine. Let me read this and okay, well, let's read it. But this does not mean that church leaders or congregations are left to sitting on the sideline. For one thing, they make communal religious practice possible in the first place. Parents seeking to practice Christianity with their children need a church to worship in and a pastor to lead a service. At a bare minimum, religious leaders are needed to keep Christian institutions functional and available for the souls who need them, and this is no small task. But the role of the church is more than this. And this is what this teaches, by the way, because you're setting up a church, but you're also creating a community and teaching them to be better than just survivors and then hopeless and sacrificing to things and doing evil things and slavery. You're teaching them, no, this is the way you need to live life. And, and in the game, this game, if you really into it and nerdy and RPG nerd, you build out the churches like as fortresses along the way that you can go back to and give them tithing, like give them some of your treasures, and then they become, as a GM, you can create little random treasure lists that they can get stuff in return. Like they'll make stuff for them, and you focus each church on different things. Like for instance, they just found a new place. They might set up a church there, but it's a coal mine. So I'm going to have it be that they'll have fuel. They can get fuel from them, or filtration system for their, water filtration. I'll think of like things on a list that they can get when they return, if they ever return, and then bring them stuff, and then they will in turn give them coal or something, technology related to that or something like that. And so but it's building up a community around that church that they planted in that area in this. What does that mean? It means it teaches kids and adults what it means to be a church. It means to build your community, which is what the church did in the medieval times. That created the West, that created the freedoms that we love and know and adore today, that are being eroded because the church is silent. The states are taking over everything. The states are now running the schools, the orphanages, the hospitals. When the church created all that stuff, the colleges, the universities, the church created all of that. The state has taken all of that. The schools, remember, government schools did not exist until, not the founding of the church or this nation. It started in the 1800s or whatever, and they said it was the churches would run it with the government help. That was the first step towards this godlessness of the church. And eventually the church fully took it over, or the state fully took it over, and they even got rid of prayer. When I was a kid, they had prayer in church, I remember, but then it got removed. I remember, as a little kid, they had a moment of silence, because I was in a military school, or I was on a military base, so I think we got rid of it later than the regular schools. I remember we had prayer, like in first grade or kindergarten, and it was, I was like, eh. And then I remember we're gonna have a moment of silence, and I'm like, and then they got rid of it because of that same generation in the 80s. I remember them, don't teach your children how to be, let them be free, and bunch of liars. Church isn't just for Sundays. Amen. Parents can both embed their families in religious contexts and model strong commitment by attending church activities outside of Sunday service. If you go to Sunday service and that's all you do, to hell with you. To hell with you. You got to do more than that. Now, if you're busy working, and Saturday's your only free day, and Sunday you go to church, tithe like a mofo. Tithe like a mother ucker, okay? Fine. More than 10%. 10% of your paycheck before taxes. Now, if you blah, 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 you helped out, 10% of your paycheck after taxes, okay? Think of it like that. And the reason I like the after taxes is because then it tells the pastors, oh, maybe we should try to get those taxes lowered for everybody. Because taxes are evil. Necessary evil. Not what it is today with the Democrats. Okay. But you do need to do more than Sunday service. You need to, and the reason you need to do more is because the church needs to grow. You need to make the church stronger. But the thing is, it can't. Don't think of it as if it is a harrowing, anxiety-driven, exhausting thing. Then you're doing it wrong. Something's wrong with the way you're doing it. Do something that excites you at the church. Think about what would be exciting to do. Not arrogant, not prideful, but fun and exciting, joyful. Right? God wants you to be a joyful worshiper. So Think of something like if all they have are the, at Grace they had the Wednesday night Bible studies, which were kind of boring. I'm like, everything they did was basically a service. I remember when I first went to the men's group, Grace, Men of the Word. They, this is years ago when it first. I don't know if it was first starting or what, but it was in a smaller room, and they kind of had rotating people. It felt like it just started, so I don't know what was going on because I was kind of new to the whole thing. But I went and they had donuts. Now they don't even have donuts. It's lame, but I mean, not that I need donuts. But they didn't have any music or nothing. It was just the discussion and then the group stuff. And that was kind of, okay, this is interesting. And I did that for 3 or 4 years. But then they went into the main chapel, and then they had music. They added music, people playing music. 20 guys went up there to play their freaking worship songs. And then they had a sermon, and then they had a song at the end. I'm like, this is like a Sunday service. This is like not even, it's not even, and every event, every convention, that's all it was let's do some worship songs, and let's do and then a sermon, and then a worship song, and then I'm like, no, I don't want that. I want discussion, Q&A, talk, fellowship, and so if that's the case, you don't have to go to another church. I left that church not because I wanted to leave the church, but because I wanted to help the smaller church and do my game, and so I had to leave in that sense. But I'm glad I did, because in my church now, we have 2-hour discussions once a week, and then a 2-hour discussion on once a month on Saturdays. And I've gone and done smash burgers for those, like cook smash burgers. I've gone, I bring food, I bring meat. No, I don't bring the donuts, I bring the meat. I go to this little Russian shalom, like Jewish store. It's not, I don't think they're Russian, the Russian Jews community, but I feel like they got pork, so might be some, I think there's some are Christians too. But I just joyful to go to church. Like, joyful to be there for 2 hours and talk. Okay, institutional religion provides not just spiritual benefits for opportunities for socializing, but also acts as concrete vehicle for doing good in the world, whether aimed at fellow congregants or larger social causes. Through volunteering and ministry, parents can show their children the immense social benefits, and religion provides not only for individuals but for society as a whole. Yeah, so through volunteering and ministry, parents can show their children the immense social benefits religion provides not only for individuals but for society as a whole. We had this open mic last night, and this Chinese woman came. She's a Buddhist, but she played the little she played that. She was the only outsider for that night, so we were hoping to get more. But anyway, it was still a good night. I did my comedy routine. Anyway, I helped her to take her stuff back and forth, and she said, "I'm not Christian, I'm Buddhist, but I really like coming to church open mics," because she likes to do open mics around Hollywood, and she used to play on cruise ships and things like that. But the music's a little it's not, it was good, but it's very foreign or oriental in the sense of not something you and I can connect with. It was nice, it was definitely skillful, but it's not, I didn't get a connection to it. Anyway, my point being, she likes to go to the open mics, and she says she likes to go to church ones because they're not smoking dope, they're not swearing and all that stuff. She wanted something more joyful and safe, and she feels comfortable around it. And I helped her take her stuff back to her car, and she was just telling me that again, and she's just wanted to know more about it and all that. And that's the point. Social benefits. We are the only belief system that believes in not raping you, not murdering you with your babies if it would help others. We don't believe in that. We fight against it. The rest of society believes in crime and theft and homeless and drugs. They're giving needles out. The Democrats are officially institutionally, governmentally giving out needles for drugs. We don't, on the streets where there is rape, there is rats, there is the plague, there's diseases, there's lice and ticks and dogs they give drugs to. We Christians don't believe in that. Sadly, there's not very many Christians. Even in the churches, they're all progressive. That is not Christian. There are only a handful of churches, and us handful of churches are weak, cowardly, and silent. And I'm trying to change that, but I got to do it slowly, with patience and carefully, and because no one's doing it, at least not here in Hollywood. When parents either attend church activities outside of worship services at least once a month or engage in any amount of religious volunteering, their children are more likely to be highly religious than young adults 10 years later, as the figure illustrates. So yeah, you got to do something at church. You got to do something around the church that's joyful, and the kids see it and see what it means and what it, And again, my game does that too. It shows the mechanics of church planning and church building and church ministering and church support through adventuring. Youth programming matters. Okay, let's do this. I kind of want to reach out and maybe interview these people. But anyway, though parents play, I'll check it out. See, I'll give them. They got to watch this video to make sure they know what a curmudgeon I am. Though parents play the central role in their children's faith formation, this role changes as children get older. As they enter adolescence, kids develop a stronger desire for independence in both a mental and social world, more differentiated from their family environments. As many parents can attest, teenagers often appear more invested in their friend groups than in their families. While this shift away from parents and towards peers is sometimes overstated, it is nonetheless a real phenomenon that parents and pastors alike must take seriously. So that first paragraph, I want to say that I'm glad they do. I'm glad that our kids turn into these awful teens, because God does want them to go off, leave the mother and father and join with their wife and become one flesh. So I'm glad I left my mom and my dad and I'm living my own life, and thusly I want my daughters to live their own life with their husbands, right? I miss them. I miss the little children that they were. I miss my little two daughters that don't exist anymore. It was very short-lived. It's really from 4 to 12. That's it. You have 8 years to enjoy your children as children, and then they're gone at 12. They want to be this. But I'm glad because that they're annoying and and troublesome, because it helps that separation. Otherwise, we would never be able to separate from them. I'm glad that they find us annoying and we find them very annoying, and they're teenagers, so that the separation can actually happen. And I know God put that in us. So, but you got to give them something that they, So one of my daughters, I played D&D with her for these years, impressionable years. Now, I was becoming Christian. I wasn't fully Christian. I was, whatever. I was Christian, but I was still learning who I was as a Christian in theology. But I was doing Dungeons and Dragons hardcore. We had epic stuff happening in this D&D campaign that we did. A couple of different ones, and I was all kinds of artwork. I did all kinds of artwork. I did all kinds of stuff. I'm kind of blown away at how much stuff. I'm looking back at the folders and stuff. And I was trying to become a D&D content creator. Thankfully, all that failed in the sense of I wasn't really failing. I was succeeding, because in my YouTube channel, initially I was doing D&D content, Star Wars content, and music, and I was getting big views and stuff. But then, all the gay stuff and the woke and the evil and the paganism, I just started seeing it. So I gave up on it because I love Jesus more, and I am not a cowardly Christian. I am a curmudgeon Christian, and I am sticking with it. And I don't care that I lose views or hits or YouTubers. I don't edit my stuff. I don't try. As you can see, I just babble on, because I just enjoy talking about the Lord, whether I succeed or not. Whether I succeed or not at this doesn't matter. Whether you succeed or not at your mission, at evangelism, on the streets, wherever you are, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. God's will be done. That's what you need to understand. If you have anxiety, then you don't understand God. I love going out and doing it because I love God. It doesn't matter whether I succeed or fail. It doesn't matter. So in these games, people kind of oh, but Christianity is so sacred. It's not sacred. Do it. God's will be done. Our faith is not that sacred. Our love and joy for him is silly and stupid and amateur and preponderous. That's why we have grace. For crying out loud, you are not perfect or sacred. When you say Christianity is so sacred, you're saying you're sacred. Bull poop. You are not sacred. You are a sinner like me. I have the joy in the Lord. You have the joy in the Lord, and do it however haphazardly you can. And learn and get better and fellowship. If you're not fellowshipping, you're a doofus, and I don't want to have anything to do with you, because you can't read the room and you can't read your own asinine behavior until you fellowship with other men and learn to refine yourself. This means youth programming and ministries serve a virtual function in keeping kids engaged. Youth programming and ministries serve a vital function. Our data suggests the availability of these programs can have a lasting impact on children's spiritual trajectory. So, get these games. Get the youth ministers to learn to GM, or find someone, or find some teenagers that are 16. I mean, I was a hardcore DM, a dungeon thing from like 12 on. I was a DM, terrible, but I was still did it forever. And so you can get kids to do this. I got to make more content for the adventures, but it's pretty simple. Our data suggests the availability of these programs can have a lasting impact on children's spiritual trajectories. When parents encourage their children to participate in youth group, they were more likely to exhibit high religiosity in young adulthood across multiple indicators. For instance, 22% of children who were encouraged to attend youth group as teenagers attended church weekly at ages 25 to 28, compared to only 9% who were not similarly encouraged. We see similar effects for the availability of youth ministries. When parents report attending a congregation that prioritized youth ministry, their children were once again more likely to exhibit high religious commitment across multiple outcomes. I don't even like they say religious. How about Christian commitment or Jesus commitment? Because religion is anything. The importance of religious programming is further underscored when examining activities such as church camps and retreats. Children who reported having ever attended either of these when they were growing up were more likely to exhibit high Christian commitment 10 years later, from the figure. Tying it all together. The first layer of the nest family. The second layer is the nest is the religious congregation. 10 recommendations. All right. Be your children's role model for faith. Parents, you are the first and most important religious figure in your children's lives. You must show them attending worship, letting them see you pray, read scripture, engage in other devotional activities, make Christian images or symbols visible in home and other regular environments. Making Christian images. Now, that doesn't mean Jesus necessarily, but, the cross or the Bible, or just things, tracts or pamphlets or whatever you have that you're doing for the church, letting them know how faith shapes you, how you live life and make decisions. My daughters, when I became Christian, they were young, but mentally completely aware. They saw the change in me. They saw my change directly. I even apologized to my older daughter directly because of my anger that I thought I did not know I had. I mean, I didn't know how bad it was until I became a Christian. How I would spit out angrily at her so quickly for silly things that she did as a child. As an atheist, I love my wife and daughters so much. So much. And yet I tortured them. Because I'm an atheist. That's what you do. That's totally legit. You can do that. You can love them so much. But you can also use your pride and arrogance to divorce your wife if you feel like your self-righteousness is so good beyond her. You can treat your children horribly, but you love them so much. Totally legit. As a Christian, I realized how much I treated them terribly. That Ron, was not a good husband and not a good father. I apologized to her, directly, openly, in front of the family, to let her know. And I did a few times too, to remind her that I'm sorry for how I treated her as a child, and as a, and she returns my texts and calls now. So, and they come to our church a little bit, but they're in their little phase of where they're going to live and plant roots, because they live in an apartment right now. Making Christian images a little off, a little further away, but anyway, making Christian. Okay, letting them know how faith shapes how you live life and make decisions. Letting them know, they prioritizing. They certainly see that now. Prioritizing faith and church commitments over other things. Going to social events, watching the game, traveling when they conflict. Okay, that one's really good. My schedule is around my church. I don't skip church stuff. I mean, I do if we go out to go, do things, but I don't let little things do it, and I certainly move things around commonly. So I don't let. So I'm a regular at church during the week, Wednesdays, Fridays, Saturday if needed, Sundays for sure. I'm a regular. Monday, Tuesday, I'm definitely pagan. No. I'm doing the game. I do this on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday I work on this. Although I'm doing this long video right now. So yeah, Wednesday I don't really get to do much. Friday morning, every morning I get to work on this, but for the full day I don't. On Wednesdays I don't. Thursdays I do a little bit. Yeah, I do pretty good, but I got a game as well, so I focus on the game parts of it, the GMing part, prep. And then Friday, I'm pretty busy with stuff like cleaning the house. I clean the house because my wife is working, and I drive her. I chauffeur her on Fridays just to give her a little extra time, and then I pick her up early so we can have a Friday night date night kind of thing. And I go run errands, and then I have a small group, like a 2-hour at church thing, so little tight. Okay, Saturdays, I do a little work in the mornings actually, and then I play with my nieces, Minecraft, or now we're playing Pal World, I think, or try to do some woodwork or whatever. Anyway, but Friday, Saturday nights, definitely do something good, like a dinner or a wine dinner or something. I don't know. Okay, prioritizing strong marriages and parent-child relationships. Shared norms and beliefs are more readily established in families where parents form warm, close relationship with both another and their children. Yeah, man. When I became Christian, I gave up my porn. Well, I didn't give it up. Jesus made me do it. I couldn't believe that I had given up porn. Masturbating to porn. Pulling down my pants, pulling it out, masturbating. Sometimes I'd do it 2 or 3 times a day. Porn, watching porn, jerking off. That's how pathetic the left is in Democrats. Like that guy jerking off on the Zoom call. That's who I was when I was one of them. I mean, I drove the Zoom call, but you know what I'm saying. God, that is so pathetic. And C.K. Lewis jerking off to the women. Oh my gosh, so pathetic. I'm going to bring this up. I could tell C.K. Lewis. He's so manipulative. He's such a charlatan, and deserves all the success he wants in this world for sure. But I can tell his jokes now, or he does gay jokes that kind of make fun of gays, but also they're very positive to gays. He does that because the reason he's doing those jokes right now, I saw, because he's trying to get back into Hollywood, right? He's trying to get on the good side of them and the Jews, probably. I don't know. I mean, I don't mind Jews, but I'm just saying he knows who he has to bow down to, take the knee to get his success back. So he's doing shows, in the comedy places, but he's doing it about gay. He does these gay jokes, but they're positive gay jokes. He's carefully crafting them. What a manipulating piece of crap! Because he's trying to get back. I hope he's always, Well, okay. Jesus Christ, come into his life and change him, convert him, please. Okay, prioritize strong marriage and parent-child relationships, right? Yeah, okay. So when I became married, I gave up the porn, or Jesus gave me the porn. My horniness and pervertedness did not change. It did not lower, right? My sexual desire did not change or lower at all. Instead of being this, like with porn and billboards here in Hollywood and women on the streets here, because there's so many gorgeous women walking around, because of Hollywood. Well, it's getting less and less. It's getting more like homeless women are now, sadly, and they're not looking too good. But anyway, I digress. Even I go to the goth clubs and stuff. Not. But now, all my horniness, the same amount, has been concentrated, squeezed. This tiny little, right where the wife is. Yeah, right there. When I became Christian, the wife had to say this. She had to say this to me. Not every night. She had to make a rule. Not every night. I never had that rule before my life with her. But, she never had to have that rule because I was masturbating to porn. But when I became Christian, she had to make a rule. Not every night. And I understood, okay. But I don't masturbate to porn, man. I don't have any. I'm here alone at the house right now. I have no, I don't want any porn. No urge, no addiction. The only porn I get now is going to the Daily Mail to look at some of the news, some of the kind of paparazzi news. But usually I go there because of some political Trump thing or Christian thing, and then I'll see the side things with all the summer bikini celebrity things. And then when I click on them, because that's my porn, I like, where are they? Where are they vacationing? What do they do? Oh, are they here in Hollywood or LA, California, walking around the streets, celebrities? What are they doing? Is it anything interesting? Like, could I go there and check that place out? That's like, I'll see the hot bikini boobs and hot butt, and is that in Greece or Italy? I don't know if I want to go there. Like, God is The Holy Spirit is in me. When I see the billboards now in Hollywood with all hot women, they have, the hot women, sexy things. Ooh, that's hot, with their sunglasses. It's so hot, these women. Then Jesus comes in, and that's so hot. How old? She was probably 16. I'm driving by. She was probably 15. Oh my God. And then look at the pose. I mean, who lays like that? Like, I immediately go to that. Like, it's like, instead of going, ooh, yeah, look at that. Oh, like I used to, like all pagans do, all Muslims do. I want that. I'm like, is she? How old do they? You barely. That's too much makeup on that young girl. That is ridiculous. That's like I start thinking about it now. Okay, that pose, that is dumb. Whatever. Okay. Continue. Okay. In practice for marriage, this may look like continuing to date one another regularly. Okay, so yeah, the daughter's like, okay, too much information, dad and wife, about things we do, even if it's something as simple as coffee outing or a movie night. Oh my gosh, no, please go on a date. My wife and I wanted to do ballroom dancing, and the main reason I want to do ballroom dancing is because to dress up, wear a suit. She wears a dress, and we go to these elegant places. But it turns out they're not that elegant, and the food's not that great, and dancing is I wasn't that. So we were back at the goth club, which I like the goth club, but I wish it was they're older. It was too young and too. I'm getting a little passe about it. Passe. Because I want like elegance and romance and a great visuals, which goth clubs used to have, but now they're becoming more grotesque and perverse and trans, and the music is becoming a little more angrier. Like it's not The Cure or Depeche Mode, or and then some goth stuff from the old days, Bauhaus, stuff like that is more beautiful and romantic and seductive in a beautifying sense, in the goth sense, in the dark goth sense. That I love, trad goth. But today's goth is becoming perverse and stupid and S&M and just retarded. And and I see that they got women on the dance boxes that are so wearing less than lingerie, and it just looks stupid to me. It just looks stupid. I'll see a big sexy butt, and okay, it's a big sexy but I just want I want the elegance of like fully clothed women dancing around in the vampire ballerina ballet stuff that they used to do. That to me was so beautiful and wonderful. My wife dresses like black and wears a little heavier makeup, but nothing too crazy. And we go out and dance and stuff. So that's wonderful and beautiful, and enjoy that. But everyone else, is turning sort of grotesque. And it's kind of I'm kind of getting a little. I look at Slime Light, which is the oldest goth club in London, and it's just they showed a 90s pictures from the 90s that they did, and I'm like, oh, this is big, awesome. And today though, it's all like demonic grotesquerie, and I'm just like, and I made a comment on there, how come we can't get that? And the guy's all, yeah, get mind your own business, and I'm like, no, I'm just gonna keep saying it. So yeah, it's kind of sad. I want to start a trad goth. I don't like the word trad goth, but something like cool and with romance and chivalry in the imagery of people and the dancing and stuff. Okay. Coffee outing. Come on, man. Movie night at home. That's terrible. I mean, we do that, but okay. That I don't consider that a date. A date should be elegance. Dress up. Find a place. Support a place. If you're in a small town, get something going. Invest in a business or place. Tell them you want an elegant night. Put some money into it. Help them support it. Get something really beautiful for a date night, or for dates. I mean, we have sexy night and all that, but there needs to be, a woman needs to dress up and have a daily wind down time for spouses to talk to one another without distraction, process the day, and share challenges and successes. Annually participating in skills-based marriage retreats or classes that can enhance marital success. Ooh, I ain't doing that. I've been married 30 plus years. I ain't doing that. But some people may need that. I don't really know. I don't really know what the new generation of people need. But yeah, I'm encouraging my daughters to do something like this, the classes and stuff. But really, the most important thing is fellowship with other men and men and women. And to me, that fellowshipping really helps with a marriage as well. I think Okay. For parenthood, this may look like spending shared time, reading, talking, eating meals, playing an RPG, working on small tasks together to build familiarity and trust, which strengthens emotional bond between all family members. Listening attentively to children as they try to role play, and taking their perspective seriously as you dog them with your pagan NPCs, ensuring that they feel heard as you force them to roll dice and then they fail and you attack them. Expressing affection and encouragement for children in order to communicate acceptance and support, or dog them for failing and getting a total party kill in the game. Setting clear rules and maintaining calm, predictable responses during conflict to help children feel secure even when discipline is necessary, as they fail at their games and kill their characters and and force them to make new characters. No, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little delirious right now. Make faith formation a joint effort. Engage in religious activities like going to church, praying, or reading scripture as a family. That's boring. Reading scripture is completely boring unless you instill in them the dopamine excitement of the scripture, which is this game. If you can get them excited about it, then reading scripture is simple and fun enough. And praying is simple and fun enough. You got to get them. Church is exciting. It's changing the world. Being a hero. You're being a hero when you go out and evangelize and plant a church or fortify your church or build up your church. That's the hero part. Coordinating with another to ensure consistency in what is taught to children. Well, that's fellowship. Finding ways for each parent to engage and lead ways to feel they are consistent with their gifts. For example, if one parent is more inclined toward prayer and another more inclined toward study, the parent inclined toward prayer can be the one who calls the family prayer. Right, so this is a good point in the role-playing game, that if this is not your thing, don't force it, right? If it's not your thing, maybe something else is your thing. Fishing, hunting, sewing, whatever it is that you like to do that you enjoy, do it at your church. Ask your pastor, can we have a sewing room, a room where we do arts and crafts? And go hang out there. Just hang out, even if no one shows up. Do a Saturday at 2:00, hang out 2 to 4. And start crafting things, making things. Hey, if no one shows up, that's okay. We're going to keep doing this, and hopefully we'll, you advertise it in the church. Go through your committees to say, I want to do this, or I'd like to do this, or we would like to do this. Try it out. See if we can get people to come. I mean, the thing about, like, say, crafting, arts and crafts, or playing board games, there's not a lot of, evangelism, church planning, teaching in it like this is. Which is fine, but you got to sort of somehow figure out how to do that, in that sense. But I don't know, because I don't do that. This is what I do, and I don't think like playing board games doesn't give you a chance to do evangelism or church planning. So that to me is an issue, and it should be figured out. But I just sponsored a Kickstarter game that is about like a card game with sort of evangelism in it. So figure that out. You look on my channel, it's already passed, but I got the info on there. It's a Kickstarter called The Great Commission. In mixed faith households, identifying what both parents agree on and organizing households or activities around mixed faith households. Can't help you there. And households with only one religious parent, allowing the religious parent to take the lead. Okay, whatever, you got figure that out. Build religion into everyday family life. Saying grace before meals. Yeah, but don't make that a ritual. Saying family prayers at bedtime and other points throughout the day. But again, don't make it a ritual. When children are small, actually that's fine. That's great. Make it a ritual. But as they get older, explain it's not a ritual. This, we'll do it now and then. But as a child, that's great. See, it's like the Old Testament. To me, the Old Testament is like children. New Testament is like adulthood, like past collegiate level. Really past collegiate level, stupid. But you know what I mean. Because the Old Testament is about teaching them the starting of a civilization. The New Testament, the civilization is now how, implementing the civilization or whatever. But yeah, saying grace, saying family prayers at bedtime, regularly reading scriptures or devotionals, having Christian music, TV, or other programming in the household, normalizing Christian imagery or symbols in a family culture, whether through artwork or clothing, bumper stickers, or whatever else feels comfortable. And my game, hardcore Christian there. Make faith a regular topic of family conversation. Yeah, I mean, you know, my game does that. Because they're going to ask you questions like, when we can play again, and what do we do? Well, when we go to the church, what do we got to do again? You got to like get support for it. Oh yeah. You know, like. And when you preach in the game, I actually give you bonus points if you preach something really well. So kids could go, oh, I need to go study some verses and use them in the game, you know. But that's up to them to decide to do that. But you should encourage it in the sense of, oh, that's a pretty good scripture. I'm going to give you a bonus for that. One extra D6, you know. They'll be like, yeah, you know, and high-fiving each other. Finding ways to insert Christian teachings, Bible stories, or, you know, narrating the role of religion in personal thinking and decision-making. Listening as well as talking, ensuring children can express what they find compelling, confusing, or difficult in their religious lives. It's not religious, it's Christian lives. Talking about moral situations children encounter at school. See, this is all something you can do in the game. Seeking avenues to develop one's own moral and theological knowledge to be able to discuss it with children more effectively. Okay, for pastors. Guide parents, not just children, as part of religious education. I'm getting tired here. Support strong marriages and co-parenting relationships. Actively engage fathers. Create space for community. Okay. Right here. Establish hobby. Hiking groups, fantasy football leagues. Those are lame. I mean, you should do them, but they're lame compared to this. Organize informational athletic events. Informal athletic events, yes. Creating skill swap volunteer events that bring encounters together for church maintenance. Invest in youth ministry. Yep. So all this stuff. My game awesomely does it. Get a copy. Join my subscribe star for $6. Download the PDFs. Or contact me. I can help you. Fly me and my wife out for a weekend of marathon and workshop. That's kind of a cool idea, actually. And I'll give you free games if you do. Fly me out, my wife, one dinner, and then we can pay for the rest of the dinners. Food, because I only eat 1 meal a day, so. And I'm definitely gonna have a wine night, but you don't have to pay for that. That'd be awesome. Wait, I should just put that somewhere on my website. Hire me to come out and set up a whole game system for you. Anyway, so that's my take on that. Ooh, that was a long video. How long is that? 2 hours! If you got to the end of this, oh man. Got to the end of this, you get 4 glory points. Just say so. Just don't skip to the back. We get 5 glory points. 5 glory points. Wow. So, yeah. Apostles of the Epoch, Christians of Space. Do you see that? I don't know if you see it. I see my mouse. I don't know if you see it. Okay. Oh, does it show? No, it's not showing. Okay. So that's what you got to do. You got to be part of churches. You got to do some stuff. Okay, it's been 2 hours. All right, I'm gonna let you go. Game of life, everybody. Roll holy dice.